Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So Brazil just held their BRICS summit amid escalating global tension and shifting geopolitical alliances. The 17th BRICS summit convened in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil from July 6th to July 7th of this year, sparking sharp reaction from the US President Donald Trump and raising questions about the bloc's growing influence. See, under this theme, strengthening global South cooperation for more inclusive and sustainable governance, Brazil hosted the summit with the goal of bolstering its leadership role within the BRICS group and among global South nations. What's happening is a lot of these countries they're starting to get annoyed and really kind of pissed off with Trump's policies, with all his tariffs and all this other things going on here. So all our tariffs and sanctions, all the things that we've done so far are bringing these countries together to challenge the U.S. hegemony. So what's going on here? So this summit brought together the founding members of BRICS. So BRICS, which stands for Brazil, Russia, India, and China, along with new members. So more countries want to join this alliance. So we have Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. Now, this interesting thing about Saudi Arabia is that Saudi Arabia has been our, I guess, trusted ally. The dollar is basically backed by the petrodollar. The birth of the petrodollar is when Nixon, they made a deal with Saudi Arabia, which is one of the largest oil producers and exporter in the world, to switch to sell every barrel of oil in the U.S. dollar. So automatically that added value to the U.S. dollar and so on and so forth. So Saudi Arabia has been almost basically a pillar to the U.S. dollar. So, and now we see them going to the BRICS summit and basically saying, hey, guys, we're interested in joining, which is insane. Also, the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, is also potentially an observer nation. So they're not a full member yet. And also Mexico is looking at that as well, too. So this is going to be very interesting. So the big news is what everybody's talking about is the absence of Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping. They did not attend this meeting. So so that's been a little, the media is talking about it a lot, that, it's kind of weird that the main leaders of this whole movement was not there. But however, the agenda for this two-day summit was ambitious. They wanted to cover a wide range of critical global issues. Global governance and security discussions focus on reforming the multilateral peace and security architecture. Economic and financial affairs. The group addressed strengthening multilateralism and tackling unilateral trade measures. Sustainable development, key topics that they want to talk about. They talk about climate change, global health cooperation, and preparation for the upcoming climate change conference in Brazil. So the other thing that they also talked about was AI, which is artificial intelligence. And they wanted to make AI a key priority, a key centerpiece of this discussion of them getting together. So a significant outcome was the summit's final declaration, which condemned the recent U.S. and Israeli military strikes on Iran as a blatant violation of international law and reiterated support for a Palestinian state. The BRICS nation also voiced serious concern over unilateral tariffs and non-tariff measures that disrupts global trade, which was a little bit of thinly veiled critique of Trump's administration's protectionist policies, which, these tariffs and 100% tariffs, 50% tariffs, 500 bazillion tariffs, which is fucking ridiculous, to be honest with you. But other countries in the world are seeing this like, listen, this is not sustainable. We're not sure. The U.S. is not serious. This is weird. So we need to, band together and challenge this U.S., basically hegemony, this U.S. economy. So the statements that the summit had, notably they omitted criticism of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, and of course you could expect that. But however, President Trump responded swiftly and forcefully to the BRICS summit's conclusion. In a post on his social media platform, Truth Social, he declared that any country aligning with what he termed the anti-American policies of BRICS will be hit with an additional 10% tariffs with no exceptions. All right. So let's go ahead and take a listen of that and see what he's talking about here.
Finalising several trade deals and will notify other countries of their higher rates by his July 9th deadline. But it seems there will be a delay in the new duties taking effect. The US President spoke to reporters Sunday, with Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick then jumping in to clarify the key date.
There are going to be tariffs, the tariffs are going to be the tariffs. I think we'll have most countries done by July 9th, yeah. Either a letter or a deal.
But they go into effect on August 1st. The tariffs go into effect August 1st, but the president is setting the rates and the deals right now.
In a later social media post, Trump said Washington would start delivering the tariff notification letters from Monday. Subsequently, he also rolled out a whole new policy, saying countries that aligned themselves with the BRICS group of developing nations, founded by Brazil, Russia, India and China, would be hit with an extra 10% levy. It wasn't immediately clear how that would affect ongoing talks. Only recently, Trump himself had mentioned India as among the nations likely to get a deal. On Sunday, one Indian news channel said the two sides were expected to make a decision on a mini-trade pact within the next 24 to 48 hours. Speaking on CNN earlier in the day, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said several big trade agreements would soon be announced.
And so there you have it. So by threatening these other countries, now what's happening is this threat represents a significant escalation in trade tensions, potentially impacting major economies like China and India. I mean, for a long time, we've been trying to slow down China's rise. A lot of things that we've been doing with the South China Sea and Taiwan and so on and so forth is just trying to slow China down. So what's happening now is because Trump is coming out and making threats in such manner, BRICS leaders have used Trump's threats as an opportunity to reinforce their commitment to multilateral diplomacy and to modernize international governance, positioning themselves as a counterweight to U.S.-led institutions. Now, Trump did not specify which BRICS policies he considered anti-American, leaving the scope of his warning up to interpretation, which is, usual Trump. The threat came just as a 90-day pause on previously announced tariffs was set to expire, with new levies potentially taking effect on August 1st if new trade agreements are not reached. This move introduced fresh uncertainty into global trade, drawing immediate reactions from Beijing and Moscow. Some analysts suggest that Western media outlets can sometimes downplay the significance of the BRICS bloc as a geopolitical counterweight to the U.S.-led institution order. So basically, I think a lot of media outlets are not, they're just saying, hey, the BRICS are meeting and so on and so forth, but they're not really telling you the impact, the significance of what this meeting means. And it drives me crazy because it's like listen, the reason why there's even a BRICS and all this stuff even exists is our fault. The reason, because we sanction countries, we're taking the sovereign funds, we're acting like bullies in the world. And other countries are getting tired of being pushed around. All we have to do is say, listen, no more sanctions, allow the U.S. dollar to flow, to other countries who need it. Stop this nonsense about, sanctioning people, taking countries' sovereign funds, having this moral battle like they were more superior or morally superior than other countries. If we facilitate the dollar to be used by other countries and not, try to bully other places and do unilateral sanctions or doing tariffs, all this nonsense, we are creating the tools of our own demise. And what the media, what they're not telling you is what is the impact of this? Already, I'll do this in a separate video, but the Russians and the Chinese are already saying, listen, our BRICS alliance, first of all, we represent the majority of the world population. Our economy is already larger than the G7 countries put together. So there will be a ramification for all of this. And it drives me nuts that the media and everybody else, they're not preparing the American people for what this means and what's going to come next. So, basically everyone's doing what they keep talking about, the absence of Xi and Putin and the perception and what it means in the eyes, and of the summit, or how serious it is. All right, but the problem is the Brazilian president Lula da Silva has been a vocal proponent of a new multipolar world order, arguing that the BRICS nations must play a central role in modernizing international governance. As BRICS groups continue to expand, like they are, and it looks like more and more and more countries wants to join and assert their influence on the world stage, the dynamic between the bloc and Western powers, particularly the United States, will remain a critical storyline in international affairs. I mean, this is going to be interesting, guys. It's going to be more developing news, and maybe I'll do another video, separate video on this, that they're talking about coming up with a separate banking system to challenge the IMF. I mean, this is going to be interesting. So anyway, that is going to be all for today, guys. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That will help me out a lot. And let me know what you think about this video or about the BRICS and what's going on there in the comment section below. All right. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you soon.